Hey there everybody, it's the Dankosaur here, and welcome to the first of many GameMaker tutorials. Yeah, so I'm deciding, because like previously this channel has been a gaming channel and whatnot. You know, we've had some games, played some games, had some gooses and some gaffes. But lately I've been deciding, I was like, you know what, I feel like I want to switch over to a programming channel, because that is what like I mainly do, is that I mainly program video games and stuff. So I was like, well, let's start doing that. So the first tutorial that I'm gonna want to do here is something I'm gonna call super awesome health bars, because they are super awesome health bars. But basically, it's like it's gonna be health bars that look a bit better, have a bit more functionality, and just kind of are a lot more advanced than just your regular run-of-the-mill draw health bar, right? So let's start off by showing what we're going to be doing here. So we'll just let that load, let that go. So I've made like a short little, small little project, of course. We're going to have this load, and just so we can check it out real quick and whatnot. So I've got just some basic stuff, nothing too crazy. Basic little character here, very big health bar, but just to show what we're going to be doing here. So we just got a little character, everything like that. So his health bar is showing 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, and like 50 health. So for instance, I've got the arrow keys programmed. When we like subtract health, it's got like this little red bar that like follows it, We got the health bar that just kind of gradually slows down and kind of winds down where it's going. Also where it's going up, so you can see as we kind of get more health, we can kind of heal. Right? And we can kind of go boom, boom, and like take a ton of damage, and we're like, ow, that freaking hurt, right? Also, something to mention is that like the health bar's got like a little animation, so in case anybody wants to do like little animations for a health bar, it's kind of got that functionality too in it as well. So let's go into it. So first off, we're going to just take a look at some of the sprites. Of course, got a little player, nothing too complicated, just got himself a kind of long animation that's just like 2. I could just do it so it's a 2 like image animation and just slow down the image speed. But I was like, nah, we'll just do it this way. Then we just got a few little sprites here for just different little parts of the health bar. So for instance, we've got the health bar border, which is just, as you can see, is just kind of a fancy little part that goes over everything. So it has like this white little line right here to kind of make it look a little glassy and whatnot. So it's just a little thing. It's also worth to mention that inside of this is the width of the health bar that we're going to be messing with later, so keep that in mind. And the origin is in the center. The origin where the health bars, everything is based off of, is in the center, so it's easy to move around the health bar and everything like that. Then we have like a background. We can kind of zoom in on this. So it's just a little sprite that I made real quick. Just so this is like the, of course, the back of the health bar. So everything's like in front of this. Is also centered, but it's also the width of the actual health bar, which in our case is 186. And then we've got our health bar, which is just this sprite, of course. Nothing too complicated of an animation, just kind of moves down and wraps around. But of course, this can change to whatever you want your health bar animation to look like. So this, also keep in mind, is not centered. So you want to keep the origin of your actual health bar part 0, 0 for the sake of these. This is tutorial and example. So let's get started. This is going to be really easy because everything is set up in like scripts and everything, as we can take a look. These are all just scripts that we're going to be making eventually for everything. So let's get right to that. So the first script we're going to go into is, I'm calling it set up cool health bar, but of course you can call it whatever you want. Just got to make sure it has 3 arguments. The first one being for the maximum HP, which will be, of course, how much health your character has in the beginning, or overall. The section size. So this is how much HP the health bar will separate it into sections. So as you saw before, in fact, we can run that again too. This is like how much health each individual section on the health bar is going to represent. So for instance, each of these represents 100 health. So that argument is 100 for 100 HP in between each of the little black lines. And of course, any of this you can modify. So for instance, you don't have to have like black lines or anything. to like separate HP, but you can, like, it is in here in case you do want that. So, and then the last thing you have is bar width, and actually we're gonna want to add another one. It's something I didn't do before, is bar height as well. So that way, in our case, we can say our health bar, its width is 186 and its height is 16. So that's something that we can keep track of and put in right here. So first off, we want to just take our first argument, which will be 0, as our max HP, and just save that as a variable max HP. So we'll have max underscore HP equals argument, and then in brackets 0. The next one we're going to need is section size, and these are just variables that we're going to save so that the other functions can kind of read them and keep track of them. So section size is going to be section size equals argument 1, because it's the next one. Then we have our bar underscore width equals argument, and in brackets 2. And now I'm actually going to add bar height equals argument brackets 3. So that will take out all of our arguments and put them in there. So now we have a few more things we need to save. So right now we're going to make a new variable called HP. HP is actually going to keep track of how much health we're actually at. So max HP is, of course, is our maximum, and in our character's case right now it's 550. So its current HP is also going to be max. However, if you wanted to, you can add another argument in here and say current HP, and you can have it so your character can start out like damaged already in the beginning of the game. It's just up to you, but for this sake, we're going to just set it equal to max HP at the beginning, so he's at full health when he starts out. Now, the next two variables we have here are for show, like what the health bar actually shows. So, for instance, this variable is called show underscore HP, and we're going to also set that equal to max HP. The show HP is the variable that we keep track of how our health bar is, like the green part of our health bar, where that actually is. So for instance, like when we subtract health from our character, our HP is already going to be down to where it actually is, right? But then our show HP variable is going to like gradually slow down and approach our HP number, which is pretty cool. It gives a cool little effect and whatnot. And the same thing goes for our red HP here, because that's that red bar that came behind the health bar. We're going to set that to max HP. So these things aren't actually used for any game mechanics. They're just here for show, to give it more of effects and things like that. Last but not least, we want to add this variable called index. This is just going to be index equals 0. It's going to be set at 0. This keeps track of the animation of the health bar. This way, this was to fix something because like our character's animation is like 28 frames long, right? But like our health bars is 16, so it's like odd. So whenever the character would like animate and switch and like start over its animation, it would start over the health bar animation too, and it'll look a little bit strange. So this is in here so that your health bar can have a complete separate amount of frames and everything like that, as opposed to what your character is doing, and still look the same either way. So this will just set up our health bar. This just gives our character all the variables it needs to set up all its health bar. Now, first of all, I'm going to go into the creative end of our character, and I'm going to add in that last argument I put in. So our bar height is 16 of our health bar. Just need to add that in to make sure that won't crash or anything like that. So now we're going to have another script that we're going to make called SCR update health bar. And of course, you can call it whatever you want. This is in the step event, but we'll get to that later. Let's make that script first, though. So let's pop that dude out and take a look. So it has no arguments. It's actually pretty simple. So we'll just call it SCR underscore update underscore health bar. This is what I called mine, of course. It doesn't have any arguments, so it's easy to set up. This just keeps track of the aesthetic like look of all the HP. So first off, we have our first if statement that says if our show underscore HP, this will be our green bar, right, is less than our red HP, which is the red bar, then our red HP is going to start subtracting. And it's going to, so we'll have in our brackets red underscore HP minus equals, and then I put this in brackets just because I like to, but you don't have to. We'll have max underscore HP divided by 500. Now what this 500 is, it decides how quickly the red bar behind our health bar goes down. So you just kind of have to mess with it. I liked 500 as the way like it kind of goes down, but you can raise or lower this to like change the speed at which this red health bar goes. So it's totally up to you. This just means that if our green HP, the one that like speeds up and slows down approaching our actual real health bar, the red bar will follow it if it's less than. Alright, so then it'll start just subtracting and going down as we go. This is just updated every step, of course, so it'll just always keep checking for this. So that's that system in place. Now we have our next if statement, and we'll start out by saying if HP is not equal to show underscore HP. In our brackets, then we're going to have show HP plus equals. In our parentheses, and we're going to want these, we'll have HP minus show HP. And then we're going to times that by 0.1. So I'll explain really quick what that does. So HP is our variable that keeps track of how much health our character is actually at. And our show HP is the green bar that speeds up and slows down to try and represent what character, like what health our character is at. So what this pretty much means is that if our HP is not equal to whatever our green bar is showing, then this is just going to update the green bar based off of like where the HP is now. So for instance, what this will do is it'll take the difference between it, our HP minus our show HP, it'll like do the difference between it, and then times it by 0.1, which means if the distance between these two is greater, this number will also be greater. And this is how much it's going to add to it. So for instance, if our HP is a lot lower, it's going to be really quick. The green bar is going to be really quick in the beginning, going like to show that, and then it's going to kind of slow down as it gets closer. So, whoa, let's run the game again just to give that a little check and to see what that's doing. Whoa, so yeah, so this is, for instance, as you can see, like every time you see it's kind of quick in the beginning, the green bar, and then it kind of slows down. So if I take out a lot, like it kind of gets really quick, you know, and then like kind of slows down as it gets up to it. So that's basically what this whole function does in our update health bar, is that it will modify the green health bar to get closer to our actual HP showing right there. Alright, so now this is going to just modify a few more things. So now we're going to go with another if statement. If our show HP, which is our green bar, is greater than or equal to our red HP, which is the red bar behind it, the red HP will equal the show HP minus 1. So basically what they're saying here is that if our green health bar is more than the red health bar, the red health bar will basically just equal the show health bar. So we have this statement up here that says if our like red health bar is greater than the green health bar, then it'll subtract to get up to it. But if our green HP is greater than or equal to our red HP, then the red HP will just go up and equal it, because it's just like behind it and we don't see it. So, and then we're also just going to subtract 1, because sometimes the red HP, just with the way the pixels work, sometimes the red HP will kind of pop out behind our green health bar a little bit. So we're just going to minus 1 to that to make sure that it stays behind the green health bar. And last but not least, we have one thing that'll keep track of. One more thing right here is that we say if HP is greater than max HP, so basically if our regular health, just our real health, is greater than our maximum health, then our real health equals our maximum health. This is just a little bit of a bracket to keep things like to keep our health bars so we don't like heal over our maximum. There's another way that you can do it though that could also be really simple, is that you can go HP and then there's this function here, clamp. We can put in our HP, we can put in our minimum, which is 0, then we can put in our maximum, max HP. That's another way that you can do it as well. I like to do it this way, but there's other ways that you can do that, of course, to just to keep your HP within your zones. And one thing that you can add too is that you can say if HP is less than or equal to 0, we can add our little brackets right here. Now I also do, one thing to keep in mind, I do my brackets a little bit differently. This is just the way that I like it, so that my code makes sense to me. And so you can kind of do this. However, most people like to put it up here like that. I don't like that too much, so just keep that in mind. Now let's see if we have HP less than or equal to 0. In our case, we'll just say instance destroy. But this, of course, will be whatever you want to do when your character dies. So it'll be like show a game over screen, make a death effect, whatever. In our case, we can just say instance destroy, just to make sure our character is dead when we're actually dead. So something we can do to kind of show that that there's like a real HP variable here is that we can subtract our health. And so what'll happen is that our green health won't actually be down there until we actually die. So for instance, as soon as I hit this next subtract, our character's dead. So it's kind of cool because like the green health bar is just an aesthetic thing, that there is actually real numbers keeping track of how much HP we're actually at. Just kind of a cool thing to keep in mind. Anyway, so if we go back to our update health bar, this should be everything right here. Oh, there's also one more thing. Now we have this index variable, which is going to keep track of like the animation frames of our health bar. So in the step event, we just want to add index plus equals 0.5. Now, of course, you can change this depending on what you want to do. I liked 0.5 because that's the kind of animation speed I liked, but of course you want to modify that depending on whatever you're doing. So you can change things up the way you like them, of course. So if we go to our object player, whoop, in our step event, we just put in some code, and then we put in our update health bar script right there, and then that will take care of everything we need to do for that health bar. So now we have just one more thing to go. A little bit. So now we have our script that's going to draw our cool health bar. So for me, I called it draw cool health bar. You, of course, call it whatever you like and whatever makes sense to you. Let's just modify this a little bit so we can get a little bit more of a better look here. So this is pretty easy because we just have our draw cool health bar, and then all we need is an X and a Y as far as our arguments. We just need 2. So we're going to start off with our script by saying var xx equals argument 0. So that is just going to pull out the x argument from our, like the first part of the script. The next one is just var yy equals argument 1, which will pull out our second argument from the script. So we just want to sort this x and y so that we can use it to do the rest of the math right here. So, whoo! All right, here we go. So the very first thing that we do is draw sprite, and then in our parentheses we'll have SBR health bar back, which, to remind you, is not that one, is this one, which is just the background of our health bar. We're going to draw that very first. Its subimage is 0. Something to keep in mind is that if the background of your health bar is animated, you can just put in the index variable that we've been setting before, and then that'll animate it as well with the health bar. Then it's pretty easy. We just have our XX and our YY because it's just going to be drawn right in the center of wherever we define our health bar to be. All right. So this is a little bit different, or like we'll have this draw health bar script right here. This is going to draw our red health bar. So we're going to start out with draw underscore health bar, and then we have our left parentheses. In our first argument for x, we're going to put XX, which is up here, minus, and then in these parentheses to make sure all the math is done correctly, we have bar width divided by 2. And just to remind you that bar width is that variable we set in our setup cool health bar. So in our case, we defined it as 186 being our bar width for our health bar. We're going to divide that by 2 because we're starting off from the origin, and we're going to bring it back by half its width to make sure that it's centered based off our XX. And we're going to do the same thing here with YY, but we need to, of course, modify this a little bit because of adding in the new thing. So in our second one, we'll have YY minus, and now we're going to start off our parentheses, and we're going to go bar underscore height divided by 2. Because we now have this new bar height variable as well, so we can just change things the way we need to. Then on our next, after this next comma, we'll have XX plus equals, in our parentheses, bar underscore width divided by 2. And this, of course, just does the opposite of this. It'll stretch out the health bar to the other side of the origin, which is XX. In our next one, we have YY plus 7. So this one's a little different because the other one was 8, and this one is 7. And the reason for this, and we're going to now replace this with plus, in our parentheses, we're going to go bar height divided by 2. But I'm going to subtract 1 from it, because what I found is that like part of the health bar, the red health bar, pokes out at the bottom. So, and it was like kind of one of those, like I said, one of those weird pixel things. So I'm just subtracting 1 to make sure that the health bar stays, the red health bar stays underneath everything else. But this, of course, will add in half of our bar height to be underneath the origin, and then subtract by 1 to keep it all good. So now for our amount of what we're going to be showing. It's a little bit mathy, but it's not too tough. We'll just have 100 times, and then in parentheses, we're going to have red HP divided by max HP. This is something that you'll see a lot when it comes to especially health bars and stuff, is to make it so, because health bars are based off of like a 1 to 100 amount. So in order to have more than 100 health and show it, we're going to have to proportionalize, you know, some like 7th grade math stuff or whatever. I don't know. Maybe it's even like 6th grade or something like that. I don't remember. I didn't pay a whole lot of attention. But we are going to just do a little bit of a proportion thing to make sure that we get our red HP out of our max HP. We're going to basically converting that into a number out of 100 so that the health bar can draw it accordingly and correctly. Then we just got some other numbers. So its back color is C black. That's not going to matter though, because we're not going to draw it. Because then we'll have our minimum color, which is red, and our maximum color, which is also red, just to make sure that the health bar, that red bar, stays red the whole time. The direction is 0, and this basically says that the health bar is going to go down from right to left. And then we have these two ones that say show back color, which we said is black, but we're going to say false, so it's not going to show it anyways, because we have our own background for the health bar. And then we're going to have false for show border. So like normally you would draw like a black border around the health bar. We're going to say nope, because we've already got that taken care of with our other border as well. So this kind of long line right here will take care of our red health bar. So, which is kind of crazy because it's just an aesthetic thing. It's just kind of a fun thing, but it's like this big line of code that gets something like that to work. But it's worth it in the end, I say. So now this is the more interesting part, because I'm going to draw our actual health bar, but we're not going to use the health bar function. Because it's an animated sprite, we're going to draw it a little bit differently. So, first we're going to say draw underscore sprite underscore part. Basically what this function does is that we can get a sprite, and then we can cut out part of it, and then just draw that part we define, like cutting out. So it's really cool with our health bar, because that way we can draw it without squishing it or anything. We can just like cut it out. This would also be a really cool function for using for like loading bars or something like that, because you can have a cool animated like sprite, of course, and it can just kind of load and not like squish or stretch or look weird at all. So kind of a cool function we have here. And this is also going to get a little bit mathy, but that is of course how programming is. So here we go. We are going to say, first we're going to define our sprite, and our sprite is SBR underscore health bar, which is what we define up there, which is our green health bar. Its subimage is index, because it's what's going to be animating, and that index is a variable that we set beforehand, so we're going to put that in for subimage to make sure it animates on its own. Now, left and top defines the coordinates that we want to start cutting out our sprite. So for instance, if we made our left, if we'll go into our sprite right here, if we had our left at like 10, it would go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever, right? And then it would start cutting out our sprite right there. But for us, we want to start ours at 0, 0, up at the top, because we want to start it from the back, which is why our origin is at 0, 0, of course. But I think the top left ignores the origin anyways. But we're just going to keep that at 0, 0 anyway. So our top and our left and our top are going to be 0, 0. We're going to start up there. Now our width, which is like the width of how much we're going to cut out, is also going to be a little bit of some proportionaling stuff. So for instance, so at the beginning we're going to put ceil in here, which is a little function that rounds up any uneven numbers to the nearest whole. The reason we're doing this is because sometimes if the numbers are decimals and they get weird, pixels will kind of round weird, like it'll round differently anyways. It'll I think it'll round down or up depending on whatever's happening, which will sometimes cause the red health bar to show up, and it still does even with putting seal in there, but it makes it way less often. But this just helps it look a little bit better and keep things in a bit of order. This just makes sure it's always rounded up to make sure that it covers up the red health bar. So even if the number is like 5.1, it'll round up to 6 to make sure that so we're putting that in here to make sure it always covers up our red health bar. At least the best that it can. So in our seal function right here, we're going to have bar underscore width, which is how long our total width of the sprite is that we defined before is 186. It's pretty much just the same as doing this, except out of 100, it's out of 186. So we're proportionalizing, but like the maximum is different in our case, because we want to get a number out of 1 and 186 depending on how much health we're at. Just like here, we're trying to get a number out of 1 out of 100. So some kind of cool. So proportions, I use a lot, of course. I mean, a lot in programming games and stuff because they come out a lot. So it's an important concept to kind of get a hold of. So we're going to times that, and in parentheses, we're going to do show HP, which is our green health bar, which is what we're drawing, divided by our maximum HP. So it'll get that kind of fraction, times it by the bar width, and this is going to be how many pixels from the top and left we're going to cut out from. So for instance, if this comes out at like 50%, right, if we're at like half health, it'll come out at half of 186. So if we go into our sprite, it'll start out, and we can do that real quick. We can say whatever is half of 186, boop, 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 divide by 2, 93. So it's going to start at 0, 0, come over 93 pixels, and then cut it off, and it'll show us that much of the sprite. And that's exactly what it's doing, and that's what it will do. Interesting, huh? So we got that, boom, all done right there. Next, we'll have like its height. In our case, it's 15, because like I said, it pokes out a little bit for some reason. We are actually going to change this. We're going to change this to bar height minus 1. So our bar height is 16, and it's going to subtract 1 to make it 15. Which is the same number that we had, but it just makes it so that we can change it depending on if we ever change our sprite. Woo! Now, basically what this has done is gotten our sprite, gotten our frame, and then it's going to cut out a portion of it. That's all we've done so far, and now we got to decide where it's going to be drawn. So, and I think this is where it depends on the origin of the sprite. So we're going to do the same thing as we did before to draw our thing. We'll have XX minus, and in parentheses we'll have bar underscore width divided by 2, which will put our origin over half of the bar width. And then over here, we're going to have YY minus, and we're going to change this to be in parentheses, and we're going to go bar height minus 2. So now this will ensure that that's all being drawn in the right spot, and that we can change things just depending on like just a few numbers and whatnot. So now that we've got these health bars being drawn, we're going to draw right now the little bars that separate how much health and displays how much health we're going to like be showing. So we're going to set up two vars. We're going to have var equals, or just var sec underscore number, which is section number, which is how many different sections we're going to draw, is equal to max HP divided by section size. So right now, if we go to our character, if we have come up with setup cool health bar, we'll have our max HP, and in our case right now it's 550. Our section size is 100. So by dividing this, we'll get max HP 550 divided by section size. We'll have 5.5 sections in our health bar, right? Now where'd that go? Where'd you go? And then of course we have our bar width, 186, bar height, 16. Anyways, I was just saying that because I don't think I showed this before, but we have now. Whoop! So now we've got a few more things to do. We'll have our next var, which is going to be section distance, which is going to be the actual pixel distance between each bar. So our section distance is going to be bar width, which is 186, divided by section number, which we just got. So if we take our bar width, 186, and we divide by our section number, which is 5.5, we'll get 33.8, stuff like that, right? So this is how many actual pixels are going to be in between each little line to show each of our sections. So now that we got these numbers figured out, we can pop a nice little for loop right here. So we're going to say for, and in parentheses we'll have I equals 0 to start at 0. And then we'll say I is less than or equal to section number, which is 5.5. And then we have I plus plus. So first thing in our brackets, we're going to pop our little brackets here, and first off we're going to say if I is not equal to 0, because we don't really need to draw the first one. So technically another way to fix this is that you can just say I equals 1. That's also a way that you can just do that right here without putting this I in here. I did this just because it made a little bit more sense for me. And in the parentheses, or in the brackets for that, of that if statement, we'll have draw set color for our line that we'll make in black. And now we're going to draw our line. So it gets a little bit mathy here, of course, but that's kind of how it goes. So we'll have our draw underscore line, parenthesis, and now we're going to have another parenthesis, because this is all one little argument right here. So in our first set of parentheses, which are these blue ones, we're going to have xx minus another set of parentheses, bar underscore width divided by 2. So this is first getting our origin up there, or like getting the farthest left position of the top, basically, or the farthest left for our x's that we need to do. Then, so that's that one set of parentheses, we're going to plus. Then this set of parentheses is just going to be I times section distance, which is like 33.8, right? So as I cycles up and gets closer to our section number, this will get higher, and so it'll move over a line every single time. So this is like that. This is like the furthest, like the left part, and now we need the y of that one, which is a lot easier. We'll just do y minus, and we need to switch this to be new parentheses to be bar height divided by 2. So now these two together get our left top position of the line that we're drawing, depending on which section we're drawing. Woo! Alright, so now we're just going to do it again. This will be exactly the same as before, because the x isn't going to change, just the y, because the x is in the same spot for the line. So what you can do is that you can take this part right here all the way across, make sure you get the whole thing, copy that, paste it right here, but I'll read it again. So we'll have our first parentheses, we're going to go xx minus another set of parentheses, bar underscore width divided by 2, and we got to make sure to close those up. We're going to have plus, then we're going to have 2 more parentheses, and we're going to say I times sec underscore distance. Okay, we're going to have our comma, we're going to have yy, and then we're going to have plus, and we're going to do the same thing as we did before, bar height divided by 2. We're going to parenthesis right there, and we're going to subtract 1 to make sure everything stays in the right place, because they would like come out. So that draws all of our lines for each of the sections. And now, last but not least, we'll have draw sprite, and this we're going to draw our health bar border. It'll just be SBR underscore health bar underscore border, because that's what we named it. Subimage is 0, and then where it is XX and YY, which is what we put in. Woo! Okay, so now that we've got that script figured out, we can have draw, and then this is easy to do because first we want to do draw self so that we make sure we draw our player, and then we want to do draw underscore cool health bar, and its X and Y is going to be X is just right in the center of our player, and then its Y is going to be Y minus 30. So we just put that in to be the center of our health bar, and as we've seen before, the health bar is centered and right above our player, just like we told it to be. How awesome. Now, we've got basically everything in place for the health bar. The only thing that we have now is that I have press up and press down here to show like subtracting or adding to the health bar. So up will add. So in the script, it's really just HP plus equals 50. That's all it does. So whenever you want to modify health for a player or any sort of object with all of this stuff implemented, you just do HP minus or plus and whatever number it is for damage or whatever like that. So if we look at down, HP is minus equals 50. These are just in here to show that we can subtract and add health as we want. So we can change things up. For instance, we can add this to be like 1270, right? Like 1,270 health. We can change that. And then we can start it up. And boom. So everything's still the same, except now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, plus like almost another one for sections. So we can automatically look at this character and say, yep, he's got a lot of health. But then we can go and we can be like 120. Go in here, and we can wait a little bit. And then as it goes, ta-da! We have like 100 and then like 20. So we can automatically see this character be like, yeah, he's going to die really quick. So if we minus 50 from him, like he takes a huge hit. And like another like huge hit. So kind of interesting. But it's also worth to note that the red health bar goes up or down the same amount no matter how much health you put him at. That's just something that was kind of neat about it. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this tutorial. One also thing to keep in mind is that this isn't just like a player thing. You can modify all this to make sense for like individual monsters and stuff. Because they're scripts, it's really easy to set up. So for each new enemy, you can just define its health, the section size, which will probably be the same. The bar width and stuff will be the same, just like its health will be different. In the staff event, you'll just do update health bar. And in the draw, you can just draw it differently. So it's cool that it's in little scripts, because then you can add it to whatever you want. And it just automatically puts everything in. And it should all work. Whew! Wow, we can take a little bit deep breath and just sit here and play with like a health bar. But thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe if you want to see more. Always remember to have a complete breakfast. And I'll see you guys next time. Adios.